Welcome back. One final segment on this edition of CBTV Sports Weekly Review. Thanks for hanging around with us. Mike Hunt along with Tucker Warner, joined by Mike Kearns. We're talking about the NHL. And before, guys, we talk about the Caps, I want to get your thoughts about the big word in the NHL this season with regard to the Buffalo Sabres, the Arizona Coyotes, and the Edmonton Oilers, tanking. What's your thoughts on that? We'll start with you, Mike, as far as, because this year the big name is Connor McDavid and also Eichel. Those are the two ones who apparently are right up there with Sidney Crosby when he was starting out. Is there anything the NHL can do about this?
I don't believe teams tank.
Okay.
Honestly, I think some general managers and some owners might like it to happen, but I don't think you're going to get players to go out and tank a game intentionally. They're out there; they want to win. That's the competitive nature of everybody.
Right.
Whether you're getting paid for it or not,
right.
Just the competition alone, you want to win the game. And I think they go out there with that attitude, and I don't think anybody's going to try to tank a game. Although I know it comes up a lot,
right.
Especially in the NBA. It's always mentioned in the NBA.
All right, Tucker, he thinks that it's kind of maybe more fabrication in the media. What do you think?
Well, I agree to the point that, players are never going to try to lose games. They're always going to try their hardest because the players and the coaches, even if they're on a terrible team, they're fighting for their contract, 2 seasons from now, something along those lines. They need to prove that they're in here. But, from a general managing front office standpoint, I think that there is definitely an incentive for these guys, if they realize that they're not going to field a competitive team this year, whether it was by error or by choice, that they need to do something in order to improve, their current place. And if you're not one of those big market teams, or if you're a big market team that has, not won anything in the last 13 seasons, Toronto, then, you need to do something in order to improve your standing. And the best way to do that is by looking at a draft like this where the top 2 prospects are both can't-miss guys, really, that, that's something that needs to happen in order for them to get back to winning. And so I think because of that, maybe it's not so bad after all. Like, it's not fun for any fans. Nobody likes to do it, but it might be necessary.
What about from a league standpoint? You've got Buffalo, Arizona, and Edmonton. Out of those 3, I would think if the league says, okay, if this does happen, not tanking, but if it happens, we want either Buffalo or Edmonton as opposed to Arizona to get the number 1 pick because those are hockey-rich areas. Is there any validity to that, in your opinion?
Well, I'd say that there, might be, the NHL probably wants, one of these teams to end up with McDavid. I'm sure that's something that they're looking for, but I don't think they're going to, do the David Stern frozen envelope anytime soon.
But in the back of their mind, they would rather see one of these 2 cities as opposed to Arizona, where you don't even think about ice in Arizona.
Yeah, and keep in mind that the NHL really does want to move one of these teams, and, if they give it to an Arizona, say they end up with McDavid, now all of a sudden you move them to Quebec City or Las Vegas or something along those lines. Seattle, maybe. The fans are going to get excited, I think.
Exactly. What about
if a team out west was to get that pick, it wouldn't get the exposure that he gets in the east. Because you got the major hockey cities are north and east, and the west, like you said, they're forgotten.
You say that, Mike, but do you realize that the fastest growing area for hockey, whether it be kids hockey, and so forth, is out west in California? They have so many club teams, these NHL teams like San Jose, Anaheim, and the Kings. They have so many, and it's just an explosion out there as far as the popularity of hockey.
I agree with that, but still, I challenge anyone to name as many players in the West as they can in the East.
I agree.
It's going to be, you're going to know more players out
without
in the
a
East.
doubt. I agree with you wholeheartedly. All right, let's turn our attention to the Caps. Looks like they're going to make the playoffs. You're pretty confident they're going to make the playoffs.
I'm very confident they're going to make the playoffs. I don't really see any team sneaking up and completely taking it away from them. They'd have to get passed by both the Bruins and the Flyers. The Bruins are just completely blowing it right now, and the Flyers, I don't think they have the talent to really overtake 2 teams.
You got the Panthers in that race, too. They're 8 points out, but it's still in the race. Flyers are out of it.
All right, they're going to make it? Caps going to make it?
Are the Caps going to make it? I think they're going to squeak their way in. But I don't know what you're talking about, somebody sneaking up and overtaking them. Ottawa's won 17 out of the last 21 games. They're not sneaking up on anybody anymore. I mean, they passed the Bruins, so now it's a race between the Caps and Ottawa for the last 2 spots. They're in the last 2 spots. Boston's going to have to try to sneak back in. And other than that, I think we still have a good chance at catching the Penguins or the Islanders. I think we could still squeak into a second or maybe third spot.
Okay, if they make the playoffs, and well, let's assume the Caps make the playoffs. Okay, well, they got Barry Trotz, a new coach, obviously, different system. They seem to be playing a little bit more defensive system and a better overall game. Mike and I talked last week about Alex Ovechkin. He's really, his game this year, it's the most solid he's played, both offensively and defensively, with his back checking. Can they go a long way in the playoffs? Because they've been such a tease to the fans for so many years.
I think that they do have a chance this year. I think that they are a more well-rounded team this year than we've seen in previous seasons, especially most recently. I think if they can get a matchup with the Islanders in the first round, that's a very, very winnable series, whether it's on the home or on the road.
Right.
So I think that they can, but I wouldn't put my money on it. I think the East is a lot deeper this year than they have been, especially last season. And so because of that, I think that, they don't have a great shot, but this is a team that's built for a playoff run.
Right. What do you think?
They're built. They are more well-rounded this year than they ever have been. They have better coaching this year than they've ever had.
Right.
They have the toughest schedule coming up to get in
Yep.
out of anybody that's left. I think we have two games against the Rangers.
Yeah.
One against Montreal. We haven't beaten either team this
Right.
year.
Right.
And this weekend, Nashville. So I mean, we've got some tough games coming up.
Right.
So, but I think they are built for the playoffs per se, and if they can stay in their system and not be inconsistent,
Right.
they can go as far as anybody in the playoffs. And Hope's going to be the X factor.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously.
I agree with that. Yeah. What about, Mike mentioned about the East being a little bit more deeper. There's not really a dominant team on the Eastern Conference. A lot of people now, the Rangers are playing pretty well. But again, I think it's wide open in the Eastern Conference. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I still agree with that. It is wide open, especially with the way Ottawa's been playing lately.
Yeah.
It's anybody's. I think the East is up for grabs, and the team to beat still, though, is Rangers right now, I think.
I'm going to say I think Montreal's the team to beat. I think the way Carey Price has played this year, I couldn't believe the stats he had. I mean, he's played unbelievable.
Well, yeah, Price.
It's going to take. You're going to have a solid goaltender.
Exactly.
That seems to be the key to the NHL playoffs, right?
Yeah, it is to a point. At the same point, though, you also have to score a lot. And we've seen the last time the Canadians went into the playoffs with a hot goaltender,
Right.
Jose Theodore. Everybody thought they were going to sweep the Eastern Conference, and they lose in the second round. And so it's not just the goalie. You need to make sure that you're preventing shots, so you're not leaving your goalie out to dry, and you've got to score too.
And the thing about playoff hockey, and I know Michael will agree with this, is you get those dirty goals, the grinding goals.
Right.
You don't get these pretty goals very, very often, and that's why teams like maybe Pittsburgh a little bit too flashy. Maybe even the Caps you can throw in there because they get a lot of flashy goals. But
Well, they're a bigger team now, though, and,
Yeah, right.
and they do scrap a lot in front of the net. So
Exactly.
you have to get those goals. Lately, the Caps have been struggling to score.
All right, guys, thank you very much, and of course we thank you. Mike Kearns, Tucker Warner, I'm Mike Neville. Thanks for watching CBTV Sports Weekend Review. We'll see you next week. Have a great week.